Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwara, Gurureva Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Chinmayam Vyapyat Sarvam, Trilokyam Sacharacharam, Tatpadam Darshitam Yena, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Tvameva Mata Cha Pita Tvameva Tvameva Bandhuscha Sakha Tvameva Tvameva Vidya Dravidam Tvameva Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So welcome to our second session on Isha Upanishad, Ishopanishad. So last week, we had our introductory lesson. We talked about the two portions of Veda, what we call the Karma Kanda or the ritual portion, and then the Jnana Kanda, the knowledge portion, which comprises the Upanishads. This is one of the principal Upanishads. And as we got into the text, we went briefly through the four Mahavakyas, which set forward the philosophy of the Upanishads and its value to us. First one, Prajnana Brahma. Brahman is consciousness. I am Atma Brahma. Where is this consciousness? This self is consciousness. And the doubt may be, oh, the self is something out there. I'm waiting to have an experience of the self. And then the Upanishad says, no. Tatvamasi. You are that. Most important point is we start with our own direct experience. Who sees the coffee mug? Do you see it? Yes? That's yourself, not the coffee mug. The one seeing it. So we start with that direct experience. Our problem is not that we don't have an experience of the self. Our problem is I superimpose upon that direct experience all sorts of nonsense. Basically, I think I'm a person. I think I'm my body. I have qualities and characteristics. And this is all the result of spiritual ignorance. Maya, from the universal standpoint. Individually, we usually use the term avidya, not knowing. And then after long practice, Shisha, the disciple, has a direct experience. The mind ceases. All that's left is the self. Inside at the moment of realization is not, I know Brahman, but oh, I am. And then we started on the first mantra. We didn't get all the way on through it. So if you'll chant it again for us, Puneet, and then we'll talk about the last part of it.
Om Ishavasya Ida Sarvam Yatkincha Jagatyam Jagat Tena Tyaktena Bujitha Magritha Kasya Svidhanam. All this, whatever moves in this universe, including those that move not, is indwelt or pervaded or enveloped or clothed by the Lord. That renounced thou shouldest enjoy. Covet not anybody's wealth.
Yes. So the first part gives us the fundamental philosophy of the Upanishad. All this is nothing but Brahman. Again, the easiest way to understand it is go to the dream state. You are the God of your dream. In the dream, I create a dream body with a dream ego identified with it. People, places, things, and conditions outside, and thoughts and feelings inside. But my mind envelops, covers, is the context for all that takes place in the dream. This is no different. Consciousness is the material cause of everything. How do I come to experience it? Tena tyaktena, by means of the renunciation, the abandonment of the world of name and form. Doesn't mean run away to a cave. It means give up my attachment to the world of name and form. Remember Vairagya, that desire to give up attachment to all experiences gained through the senses, and that desire to give up identification with any form of self, starting from the body up to and including the form of Brahma. Oh, Jim, this is hard. And he ends the mantra, covet not another person's wealth. So, what is he saying? He is acknowledging, I have desires. I want a better job. I want children. I want to get married. I want to get rid of my marriage. I want to buy a house. I want a fancier car. Oh, that was such neat jewelry I saw online. Someone outside? No. Okay. I have desires. And when we look at this last statement of the first mantra, covet not another person's wealth, we have to look again. The style of the Upanishad is maximum meaning with minimum words. There are levels. The first understanding of it. Don't be a jerk. Don't take from other people. Rejoice in the well-being, the success of others. See if you can practice a little bit of santosha. What does santosh mean? Contentment. Contentment. Yeah. The foolish person wants what other people have. The wise person is content with what they have, with what comes without striving, and no concern with what goes away. That's just the basic level. Now, the next level of understanding this part of it is to deeply penetrate yoga's understanding of what goes on, what's the relationship between craving, desiring, longing, and my suffering. In the end, the only way to accomplish mature tyagaha, we had tena tyaktena, by means of that abandonment, is through insight. I'll give you a real gross worldly example. I have a friend who has celiac disease. Celiac disease means you're allergic to gluten. 25 years, the doctors couldn't figure this out. She's Indian. It's very rare in Indians to have celiac disease. Every time she'd eat wheat, donuts, pasta, her stomach would hurt. They thought she was kukuluna. So finally, she was tested. She's incredibly gluten sensitive. So she began to see cause and effect. If I eat the donuts, I'm going to have a bellyache. Oh, but the donuts taste so good. Yeah, but you get the bellyache. So she was ignorant of the cause and effect relationship until she had knowledge. Why do I suffer? Yoga says, let's examine whole phenomena. What does it feel like to want something you don't have? It sucks. Now, let's put physical suffering on the shelf. In the end, that's also part of this, but that's not why people want to kill themselves. So, can you find any other kind of suffering other than wanting something you don't have, or the inverse, wanting to get rid of something I don't like, or what I call the neurotic form? I have what I want, but I'm afraid I'm going to lose it. Don't believe me. Look to your direct experience. Can you find another kind of suffering? So yoga says the craving itself, the kama, the spriha, the longing, the vancha, the wanting, is the essence of my suffering. It comes in two forms: raga, passion for stuff; dvesha, aversion for stuff. And the more I want it, and the more I'm not getting it, the worse the suffering is. You know, young people, I won't mention names. Oh, I want a partner so bad. I'm in my 30s. I want to get married and have children, and I can't find the right person. And I've had such bad luck horrible choices and it hurts so bad. It's painful. Painful. I'm not getting what I want. Listened to this gal the other day. She had a relationship and she dumped it. He didn't love me the way I needed to be loved. So she got rid of it. A baby. I want to have a baby. I have a house, but my best friend has a bigger house. Oh, I want to get a promotion at work. I didn't even get an interview. Does this sound familiar? This is the world. This is the world. So yoga says, stand back in the posture of the witness. The practice is called Sakshi Bhava. Take on the attitude of the witness. Watch your mind and see if this is not true. That when I'm suffering, it's because I'm not getting what I want. Then yoga says, pay attention to your bliss. When desire and object of desire become one for a moment, the mind is freed from the tyranny. It's a kiss of the bliss of my own self-nature. I just don't realize it. I think the happiness is in the person, place, thing, or condition. I just used that to momentarily induce the state free from desire. Now, there's another state completely free from desire that we all experience without doing sadhana. It's called deep sleep. Everybody loves a deep sleep. What object is causing the bliss of deep sleep? No good-looking boyfriend or girlfriend. No pot of money. No fancy car. No title. It's blissful because of the absence of the agitated mind. I wake up in the morning. Oh, just a couple more minutes. Oh, I have to get up and go to work. Oh, I've got that presentation doing. Oh, I really don't want to do that. Then I have to talk to my stupid boss. And, oh, I don't want to do that. And, oh, and then I had a fight with my partner last night, and I got to deal with that. What's happened? My craving mind has come back. And where did the bliss go? Fades like the morning mist in the sun. Gone. And then I'm stuck with my low level discontent, irritation, restlessness that most of us run around with all day long, which impels me, and I want to do this and I got to do that and I got to do this. Why? To try to relieve that inherent discontent. So the practice here is to see the inherent defect in bhoga. Bhoga means enjoyment. The bhogi wants to be happy. And the way they want to be happy is get as much of their desires fulfilled as possible. The yogi also wants to be happy. But the yogi enters into a way of life that reduces the number of desires entertained. Now, one of the other pieces of all this that we need to look at is the science, the understanding of vasana. Other classes we've talked about that. What is a vasana? A vasana is an impression left in the unconscious as the result of previously performed egoistic actions. What do I mean by an egoistic action? It has I-ness and minus involved in it, and I have attributed to the experience it has joy-giving properties or misery-producing properties. I go over to a friend's house, have dinner. For dessert, they serve ice cream. Wow, this is good. It's so creamy. Oh, and the chocolate, it's so good. What is this? Oh, this is Ben and Jerry's Chunky Monkey. Oh, man, is this good. What was it again? Chunky Monkey. So then at a later time, I'm just hanging out in the evening watching TV. And I get a sweet tooth. What was that ice cream? Oh, yeah. Chunky Monkey. Do I have time to run down to Whole Foods and get some? So you see the dynamic. There I am eating ice cream. And then I attribute to the ice giving, joy giving properties. And I think about it. I engage in what's called chintya. Oh, Chunky Monkey, that was so good. That leaves an impression. No big deal. But at a future point, I want to repeat the action. So this is the cause of the tyranny of the indulgent quality of mind. My inner 2-year-old. I want to have ice cream. No, I don't want to eat my broccoli. And for most people, all that happens as we become adults is the stuff gets bigger and more expensive. And always caught in the phenomenon of addictive craving to people, places, things, situations. I want approval. I want attention. I don't want to be the center of attention. I want this. I want that. I want. So we want to understand what is causing my suffering. Now, yoga says it is possible to be completely free from suffering. The person who is completely free is the one for whom all cravings have been silenced. The tyagi, true man. So, not only do we practice through insight, letting go of our attachment to the world, but we cultivate a practice of letting the mind be absorbed in sound. Atmaramana, reveling in my own self nature.
Is that also not an attachment?
The mind must be attached to something. This is a secret. It's nature. My problem is, in the state of ignorance, I attach it to things that are ephemeral and transient. But the cool thing is, you are permanent. You are always there. Now, in a sense, we can't be attached to samadhi, to blissful states. But knowledge is when I know where happiness is. I know, okay, if I'm not feeling serene and peaceful, it's because I'm attached to something. Another way to look at it, Santosh, you can't renounce something you don't have. I got up this morning and I renounced being president of the United States. That's ridiculous. Never going to be president of the United States. So get yourself rooted in samadhi. And you can let go of your attachment. The scriptures are full of descriptions of these Mahatmas. And we just get around. They are not only full knowers of the Supreme, but they have retired into the Supreme. They're so full that bliss overflows. You and I get a borrowed glory. Good question. So, the woman of realization covets nothing. True story. A couple weeks ago, I got a call from a student, happens to live in another city. This is a young person who 20 years of intense Zen practice. This is a serious person. Then they discovered the Vedanta. He'd been working mostly over the phone. He's come to visit me. And by God's grace, he's sitting in his backyard. Now, mind you, he's a householder. Got a house, got a wife, he's got kids. But he really has worked in this stuff. He said, I got this pain in my head, and then it moved to the other side of my head, and then it dropped into my heart, and all this energy, and then it went out the top of my head. And I won't mention his name, but the person disappeared. Everything. And he's talked to me on the phone. He said, Jim, this stuff is real. I have no desires. I'm full. I want for nothing. And that is the effortless state. So that's the highest level of understanding. You've heard me talk about, for the person of wisdom, the world is beautiful. but it's trinkets and baubles. It's like pieces of colored glass. Pretty to look at. But it has no juice. All right, second mantra.
Jim, I have a question. I guess
Please.
the mechanics of the vasana that you talked about, you explained it through the process of desiring something, but how would you do the same thing for the opposite, which is like an aversion?
Well, what yoga says is ego tends to want to run away from an uncomfortable situation. Say there's a person who annoys us. We either want to shut down or shut them down or walk away, something like that. What yoga says, and you've heard me say this 1,000 times, it's a spiritual axiom that if I'm disturbed, no matter the cause, I'm the one with the klesha. I'm the one with the affliction. I'm the one with the dosha. And that always is some attachment, some control issue, some aversion, some personal identification. So yoga says, try leaning into it. What's this about? So there you are with the annoying person, and they're just behaving in a way that you think is ridiculous. And you just stay present.
But what about the case when then, like the example of the ice cream, you're sitting on your couch and you think of something and reminds you of the ice cream? How would that work with the case of aversion? Like there could be some discomfort that reminds you of a similar discomfort. Like
you don't have to go causation hunting. Just stay present to what is.
Yeah.
The feeling arises. So let's say you see someone who reminds you of a horrible uncle that you couldn't stand. You don't have to say, oh, this reminds me of my uncle. That may arise, but it's not necessary. Just be present to the material at hand. I can't stand this person. Oh, God, they're horrible. They're so annoying. And give up the compulsion to want to fix them or run from the situation. It sucks. But in the end, that's what we do. One of my friends in the Chinmaya mission, particularly young Swami, and he was raised in a very cultured family, and he had an aversion to the word fuck. And of course, at first, you shouldn't use language like that. But he realized he had an aversion. So his practice was to sit down and write the word fuck 108 times. Until he no longer had a charge on it. Now, he still may choose not to swear. But he isn't disturbed. Is that useful?
Mm-hmm.
Good question. Very good question.
It's not easy.
None of this is easy. Simple, but not easy. But it's never out there. That's the great illusion of Maya. Maya says people, places, things, and conditions cause the way I think and feel. Yoga says people, places, things, and conditions are fundamentally neutral. They're neither good nor bad, they just are. I superimpose my likes and dislikes because of my vasana.
I guess in the ice cream case, then would you Like, so I acknowledge my sweet tooth and remember that chunky monkey was good, but then do I like not go get it?
You can do what you wish, but you know if you have an addictive relationship or not.
Mm. Okay.
You know, if you have a compulsion for sugar, then you need to look at it. But the point to understand, desire itself is my suffering. When I satisfy a desire, this is called a mediated experience of my own self-nature, my own bliss. I have a medium. I'm merely using that object, which is inherently neutral, to momentarily induce the state of happiness. And I like to say it's just bad economics. It's 95 cents worth of work for a nickel's worth of pleasure. Why not go for the happiness independent of the world? If I'm a tyagi, a renunciate, an abandoner, then I could move through the world and I'm not upset by it. We may know people who are, oh, I don't want to go there. That annoys me. You know, I don't like that particular meeting. Or those people just bother me. You know, and they're tyrannized by their annoyance. Or people who are always longing. I don't have. I don't have. And there may be you and me who have that problem. And Maya is so seductive. So if we've had conversations like, this family member is doing it all wrong, I have a responsibility, you know, they are doing it wrong, they're hurting other people, and they shouldn't act that way. Now, if you've ever had that particular syndrome, have you? Yeah. My experience, you can't change other people. And that's guru. Remember, the physical guru is a temporary psychological device. Guru ultimately is your self-nature. But guru also shows up in the world by the various situations that poke at us. Oh, you want to know where your attachments and identifications are? Let me bring your brother or sister to you, or your sister-in-law, or your brother-in-law, or your horrible aunt. You know what I mean? They are wrong. No, well, if they get hit by a bus, we'll bring the coworker who's just the same way. That's how guru in the world works. It's a spiritual axiom that if I'm disturbed, no matter the cause, I have the klesha, the affliction. Now, that doesn't mean I'm wrong and they're right. The world and its people frequently do really, really awful things. But if I'm upset, I have the klesha. So all of this is framed in this teaching, covet not another person's wealth. Work at these three different understandings of giving up smashing the idea. The reason I'm suffering is I'm not getting my way. I'm not getting what I need, what I want, what I deserve. All right. Any other questions about this first mantra? Next one.
Kurvanme veha karmani jijiveshanta gamsamaha evam tvayi nanyate sosti na karma dipyate nare. Performing verily work in this world, one should desire to live a full 100 years. This alone is right, for there is no other right path. Action never clings to a man of this temperament.
So, again, when we use the word karma here, this is a very, very old scripture. At least 3,000 years old, maybe even older. And the word karma here had a specific meaning of ritual. So in the beginning, we talked about these two sections of the Vedas, Karma Kanda, Jnana Kanda. What we're going to discuss, we touched on this briefly last week. It's not, oh, action is bad, gets you nowhere, you should just seek the self. Or, no, seeking the self, you'll go to Brahmaloka after you die, do ritual. The proper understanding is this. Frankly, only those people who have subtle minds, what the Buddha said, whose eyes are covered with just a little bit of dust, are able to receive the highest knowledge. In old-timey days, this got extended into all sorts of protective customs and traditions. Only Brahmin men were allowed to study the Vedanta. You had to be tested to see if you were worthy. That is not necessary. The knowledge itself is surrounded by its own protection. All you have to do is say what you need is Tena Tyaktena. Oh, you want highest wisdom? Give up your attachment to the world. Not for me. Bye-bye. And out people go. My next meetup group. Oh, pink tantra sex. Bring a towel. Take off your clothes. Bring oil. Pack room. So the very knowledge itself keeps those who are not ready out. This has never been a teaching of the highest knowledge for the masses. What they have is the teaching in the Karma Kanda section. How do I make life more palatable, more worthwhile? If I'm in the state of ego identification and I really don't want to let that go. So here, what he says is all of the various stuff that we could want, success in business, family, a house, possessions, it's all wrapped up in, if you want to live 100 years. In the ancient times, that was the natural extent of the human life. Nowadays, there are people frequently who live beyond the year 100. Great yogis who practice Raja Yoga, some of them can extend their life really, really long time. There's a great guru who was around here in the 70s, Guru Bawa, who was from Sri Lanka. He was a Sufi master. And people said he was about 120 years old, had a face as smooth and unlined as a baby's. Amazing. White hair. Great, great Sufi master. But the ordinary person, 100 years. For those who want worldly stuff, there are ways to live that way that's according to the Dharma. What's the word Dharma mean here? You normally think of it as the essence of a thing, the nature of a thing, without which it would not be the thing that it is. But it also means right, intelligent living. How to live in a way that orders our society, that doesn't hurt yourself or other people, and fulfills worldly desires. Now, this is, in our modern age, you don't have to be a Brahmin. You could be any caste or social standing. But some of the ideas that were given to the Brahmins are useful for us to look at. So we have what we call the ashramas, the stations of life. So the first one is being brahmacharya. It's being a student. When you're young, what's your dharma? Your dharma is listen to your parents, honor them, respect them, obey them. Hopefully they're worthy of it. Study in school, listen to your teachers. Participate in the religious traditions that you belong to. You learn basic things on an intelligent diet, getting enough exercise, cleanliness. Make your bed. I don't want to make bed. Make your bed. Your chores are to take out the trash and do the dishes. I don't want to do it. You go through these sorts of things as kids? Yes, no? I just clean out the horses' stalls. So brahmacharya, student life. Then, when you get a little bit older, what happens? You get married and you become what we call a grihastha. What's a grihastha?
Householder.
Householder. So what are the dharmas of a householder? Make some money. Get in touch with your swadharma. What is your job, your vocation in life? Get married. Have children. Send your children to good schools. Artha is part of the swadharma of a grihastha. Wealth. Satisfy your desires. Oh, what I really want is a house up in Piedmont. Go for it. I've always wanted a Tesla. Knock yourself out. Yes, we're going on a ski trip to Switzerland this year. Wonderful. So that you learn through direct experience what the world can give and what it can't. One of my students last year bought a brand new Mazda SUV, little vroom vroom car. Loved it. Just, I love my car. I love my new car. He had an old beat up Toyota for years. Well, I guess it's been 3 weeks now. He got rear-ended on the freeway. They haven't even been able to resolve the insurance issues. They haven't even started to repair it. Gone. This is what we learn as a grahasta. What life can give us and what it can't. Oh, I have a really nice apartment and I've got a beautiful new sofa in my house. And I've always wanted a cat. I got a cat. Guess what the cat did? You had a cat? Yes, no?
Mm-hmm.
It will ruin your couch. They all do. That's the world. That's the world. Oh, I want children. I want children so badly. My brother, 3 daughters. They're all grown, kids of their own. But I can remember when they were late teenagers, and he was terrified that they would meet a boy who was like he was when he was their age. He was a randy young man. That's this world. And then when we satisfied desires and learned what we're able to do in this world and dealt with the disappointment of what we can't do in this world, then vanaprastha. Semi-retire. Forest, basically. What you do then, you give the house to the kids, you do granny duty, take care of the grandkids, and you begin the study of your spiritual life. That's as far as many people get. Some got 4th ashrama sannyas. They retreat from the world altogether to just do sadhana. So this is the life of a worldly person. And if what you want is a healthy worldly life, the way to live it intelligently is set forward in the Vedas. Now, for us in the modern age, maybe we're not Brahminical Hindus. Maybe we're born in this country. We want the shorter version. You can reduce it to things like the yamas and the niyamas of Raja Yoga. It's a really good place to get the kind of moral training that we need to live an intelligent, worldly life. We learn things of how to be powerful in the world. Simple things that most people miss. Like satyam. What does satyam mean? Truth. It means more than truth. It means integrity. show up as a person of your word. If you have the problem that you have intentions in the world and you can't seem to follow through on them, or they just don't seem to work out, one of the places to look is, do you lie to others and to yourself? I'm going to get up and go to the gym every week. Oh, well, it didn't happen this week. No, it didn't happen. You didn't show up as a person of your word to yourself. Did that make sense? Mm-hmm. So you learn to connect your intention with your actions. Something as simple as that will transform your worldly life. Something as simple as in the realm of money. Most Indians from immigrant families don't deal with this, but a lot of Westerners do. A lot of Indians who were born here get caught in it, that they get all into a lot of financial trouble with credit cards and debt and stuff like that. Do you know people who've had that trouble? Shopaholics, they've got, 100 pairs of shoes. They got shirts in the closet with tags on them. I'm going to tell you the truth about money. If you spend more than you make, you're going to get in trouble. Credit card notwithstanding. Now that seems so obvious. Oh, but I'll get my tax return back, at the end of the year. So I can, all sorts of ways of rationalizing the fact that, I want to spend more than I make. I promise you, if you spend more than you make, you're going to get in financial trouble. It's so simple. A lot of people don't get it. You're spending more than you're making. Got two choices. Make more, spend less. That's it. So simple. But I can't tell you how many people don't get it. So these are the kinds of modern day rituals that we need to learn to have a successful life. Here's what a lot of young people are dealing with now. You're working from home. You're hired to work 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. That's not work. How much do you really work? Maybe 2 hours. What do you do the rest of the time? Or is it? I don't know how to do it. This isn't work. It means you're a thief, is what it means. If you suit up and show up, life will be successful. So, the whole idea of the second mantra for those people who are not yet ready for the highest knowledge, live a life according to the Dharma. Meaning, for us observant Hindus, as it's put forward in the Vedas, if we're not according to intelligent life principles, there's a whole field that's developed in the past maybe 20, 25 years. Life coach. Any of you know anybody who's a life coach? Or you've been to one? Who knows anything about life coach? All they do is teach us the Dharma. Is this what they've done for you? Have you been to one?
I've never been to one, but a previous coworker was one, and she did like a session on what she talks about as a life coach.
Tell us what she said.
I guess it's been a while now, but I think she was talking about just like the importance of like because it was in a work context, right? So it was like
This is what we're talking about.
right, like a mental well-being, financial well-being. Here are the resources that you can use to achieve both of those. Like it was a little boxed, but
yeah. And much of this is common sense, but a whole lot of us never learned it. All right? Yeah. So this is what the Vedas are there for. Now, the other thing that ritual will do is purify our intellects. So by doing ritual, modern day, having some form of devotion opens our hearts, turns our minds towards the infinite a little bit. All right. Next mantra.
Asurya namate loka andhena tamasavritaha taste pretyabhigachanti ye kechat mahano janaha. Sunless are those worlds, and enveloped in blinding gloom, to which all those people who are slayers of their own souls go departing from here.
Yes. So if we live a life in spiritual ignorance, and we live a life that is not according to the Dharma, meaning we lack integrity. Here he says we are slayers of our own souls. Why? In this life, what yoga says, we don't get what we want. We don't even get what we need. What we get is the inevitable results of our past actions. That is the law of karma. So if we live a life rooted in retribution, revenge, not paying people who work for us, destroying people we don't like, lying all the time, we may think those people are getting away with something. But yoga says, first and foremost, they are slayers of their own souls, meaning this leaves deep, deep stains on our psyche. Why? Because the truth is, we're all one. That's myself over there. But if in my ignorance I'm caught up in otherness, all the energy I put out at some point, not in this lifetime, but in the next or one after that, who's to say, it will come back. So don't be afraid of your actions. Act the best that you can. Do your best. But understand that everything you put out will come back. So a yogi, for example, doesn't steal. Why does a yogi not steal? You will eventually be stolen from. If you scream and yell at somebody you care for, don't be surprised when someone screams and yells at you. You've taken shortcuts at work. Don't be surprised when your auto insurance company takes a shortcut for you. Now, we're not saying that the way to have the best life is just to have clean karma. It's as simple as that. It's not that simple. And again, we always have to deal with the fact of world events. Why is it that innocent people are victims of terrible tragedies and violence? I don't know. But the law of karma is immutable. No one's being punished, just getting the inevitable results. And groups of people have karma. Nations have karma. God help those of us who live in a nation where we've done terrible violence to other people.
And that cycle never ends.
Interesting story. In Yoga Vasishta, there's the story of the demon king Bali. And Bali ends up getting enlightened. And he decides he's just going to hang out in samadhi and bliss out. Lord Vishnu says, we can't have this. Because if the king doesn't do it, then the asuras who follow him, they won't act either. And if the asuras don't act like demons, well, then the devas won't have anything to do. And if the devas don't have anything to do, then human beings won't do ritual to invoke the devas. And the whole world will come to an end. Unintended consequences. So he wakes Bali up and says, dude, you can't bliss out in samadhi. You got to be a demon king. Get back on your throne. To the point of the story, unintended consequences. The world is the world. And at least the way Ishvara has created it, destruction is an integral part of the world. It's not only nation against nation, family member against family member. But the fact that your body is here is the direct result of some star going supernova. Did it wipe out life on all of its planets when it did that? I don't know.
But that's not rooted in hatred, right? Like what's going on right now.
Hatred is simply what a human mind does. That's a good question. What is hatred?
Otherness.
And what about the otherness becomes problematic?
Fear?
Yes. Yogis would say there are no evil people. There are certainly evil and destructive deeds. But there are lots of suffering. and hurt people. Hurt people. Find some fellow and he's an abuser to his wife and kids. Chances are, if he goes to the shrink, he was abused as a child. That's part of the way the Lord has created the world. Now, will it change? Will we have spiritual evolution as a race? Some people say yes. But I know for sure, Santosh is, I don't know. I can remember when I was a very young man. I was a hippie, 60s and the 70s. It's the dawning of the age of Aquarius. We're all going to drop acid and change the world. It's much different. I don't know if that's a very satisfying answer. But the way to change the world is to change myself at the level of the equipment. If we want peace in the Middle East, start by endeavoring to not react to the world, but respond with peace and forgiveness in my personal life. Then I become part of the solution rather than contributing to the problem. But that person is the greatest of hypocrites, who decries the violence in the Middle East and then screams at a family member. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. All right, it's noon. So we've done, did we finish 3?
Yeah.
All right, we'll start with 4 next week. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Sri Guru Pyo Namaha. Hari Om.